Well, good morning, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the gathering here. And I've heard a lot this morning from basically two different schools of thought. And as I've looked over my notes and what I had prepared to say and listened to a lot of other people say a lot of parts of that, I've decided to try to curtail my remarks a little bit and sort of remark on what we've heard thus far. The first thing, and this thing I'm mentioning first because I haven't heard it yet today, is whose realm are standards of education? We've heard opinions about that. It's the school board. I think this morning we heard a very imperial statement about that, that it belonged to the Department of Education, DPI. We've heard people say that it's the realm of teachers, and I even heard the assessment this morning that the concept of teachers deciding whether or not we have Common Core or what the standards should be for schooling was compared to engineers fixing the bridge in Green Bay. And one of my thoughts at that moment was I've looked at education for 35 years, and I've also looked at the bridge. I see part of the bridge collapsing, and I certainly wouldn't call the engineers who engineered the part that's collapsing to fix it, or as experts as to how to fix it. The education realm is full of a lot of people that have a lot of different viewpoints. My concern is the one thing we haven't mentioned here is the people of the state, the parents of the actual students who are in these schools. I run a private school. It's one of the fastest growing ones in the state. It's an online school. We had 21 students in 2011, 231 last September, and over 350 now. We also have about 320 adult students that are taking classes from us in areas of history and other important subjects that may be neglected by some of the school system that they had attended. But the question is really, what role do the parents have in this? And a disturbing part of what the testimony is that I've heard here and what I've observed and what I've studied myself is that I don't see the parents having had much of a role at all. I've heard a couple of ancillary comments about a parent or two that might have been asked, probably parents who were very interested in the Common Core, interested in the public schools. But I see 4 years of implementation of a program that was brought into the state by a top-down methodology from a handful of people in education committees, and without much visibility on anybody's part, even down into the teachers. I think it was sort of top-down to them as well. Now we have it in the system, and we're being asked why we want to throw it out. But then the other testimonies that I've heard today have also indicated that those that have been using pieces and parts of this system, and it's by no means fully implemented, have been having great success by customizing it. Or they've exceeded the standards, or the standards are all over the map in different districts. It seems to me if this is a standard, an ironclad standard, and it is so critical to Wisconsin school children to have this specific standard implemented in a very ironclad and exclusive way across our school system, that's been negated by the testimony today, just by the simple fact that school districts are doing quite well, doing a variety of things, and if I'm not mistaken, Wisconsin schools have gone on for 150 years without Common Core standards and have done pretty well and have produced great students, as has the rest of the country, without Common Core. I think we need to take a look at the politics of Common Core and a top-down or one-size-fits-all educational system. The motto of our school is teaching children how to think, not what to think. When you specify particular outcomes and answers for every situation and every question, you have removed a child's ability to do that, their latitude to do that. That's an American staple. American children should have the right to have an opinion, have a belief, and perhaps even be wrong. But when you teach to a particular answer or standard, you've eliminated their freedom to do that. And if the standards were perfect, you might make an argument for that. Have here a map. Those states in red are questioning or now having hearings on this issue. across the country. In the states in blue, 5 of them now, and most recently Florida has made a pronouncement through the governor there about Common Core. There's quite a number of states that are questioning this, and I think it's a rush to judgment to decide that we're either going to keep Common Core or not keep Common Core based on the hearings today. I think more needs to be done and said. But the political philosophy is what concerns me most. And I did look at some of the textbooks and materials that are coming out, and it's really kind of ludicrous to say that the Common Core standards are not a curriculum, because we've also heard about 15 times today that you build a curriculum to the standards. The curriculum is designed to a certain effect. So if you have a set of standards, you're going to build a curriculum that goes to that effect. There's a particular book that I found on the list of approved books. This has been altered for the purposes of Common Core. Many books have been, and by the way, we are a private school, and yet many of the books that we use have been redone, rewritten to Common Core standards. So telling me that the curriculum is not going to change or the curriculum doesn't change to the standard, I know it's just not true. We've had to change curriculum because of changes in the curriculum. This particular curriculum is called Revising History and Our Constitution, United States History, Preparing for Advanced Placement Examination. And this is in line with Common Core standards. This textbook, and the authors of this textbook have taken it upon themselves in this book, Preparing for the Advanced Placement Examination, to rewrite the Constitution of the United States. And I'll give you an example here. I have a picture of that page. This is on the Bill of Rights. The real Bill of Rights that we all know, we may know the language of. In this case, we're talking about the Second Amendment, which might be important to a lot of conservatives in the state who might be questioning somewhat about Common Core. The real wording is: a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. In the altered version, which is being taught to students, it simply says the people have a right to keep and bear arms in a state militia. I think that's a major change. In Amendment 1, which more of us will be concerned about, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of press or speech. The right of the people peaceably to assemble and petition the government for redress of grievances has been changed to Congress may make no laws and Congress may not favor. And then there's an addition, a parenthetical addition at the end. It says, Congress may not favor one religion over another, and it's followed by a parenthetical statement, separation of church and state. That doesn't appear in the Constitution, the Declaration, or any of the 50 state constitutions that I'm aware of, but it's been added here for the purposes of teaching to an outcome, to get a reaction. My concern here is that we have politics entering into this, and whether or not you can argue the relative merits of the math curriculum or the English curriculum, although I have seen some of the materials that are part of the English curriculum or on the recommended reading list. I've also seen that on the recommended reading list that I have seen, the Constitution of the United States doesn't seem to appear there, nor any book among the Christian literature that has been the staple in American society for 300 years. Yet, we do see Heather has 2 mommies and other books, including the one that was mentioned earlier today, that have some stuff in them I don't want my kids to read. Moving forward, politics and philosophy do play a part. And while it may not be a partisan issue, our rights to hold certain beliefs or the truth about our history and heritage certainly are an issue and should be a partisan issue if we see that we're being pressed toward a goal that does not include our heritage and our history, but instead takes us in a different direction. The public school system has many great people in it that work very hard to try to educate people, educate our children. There are also many problems. I don't think anybody here can deny that we've lost our position internationally in education. Many other countries have passed us up, and the test scores in this country have been declining. And there are many reasons for that, perhaps. But I don't believe that the implication here that has been given is that if we don't have Common Core standards in the state, if we don't impose that as a top-down methodology for fixing our education is going to decline, or that our education is going to perish. We've had a pretty good track record as a country. I think that can be rebuilt, and I think maybe there's some methodologies here beyond Common Core standards. Thank you.
Any questions?
Thanks.
Representative Sinicki?
A couple of quick questions. You said you run a virtual school?
Yes.
But you didn't tell us what your background was. What are your credentials? Are you a teacher? Are you a licensed administrator?
I have an MBA. I am an administrator. I am the executive director, vice president. It is a 501c3 private school.
But do you have an educational background?
Educational, in terms of professional education, no.
Oh, I find that interesting that you're running a school and you have no educational background. So, listening to your testimony, you would be perfectly happy if we just completely threw out Common Core standards. Is that my understanding?
Actually, I would like to see the Common Core standards withdrawn in terms of a template for the state of Wisconsin, yes.
Okay, so I guess that kind of brings me to my next question. If we were to just, scrap Common Core standards, what do we go back to? I just kind of find it surprising. You're saying this is a top-down, came from the administration, came from the federal government. But then again, it wasn't that long ago that we had No Child Left Behind that came from the federal government, and, conservatives embraced it. So I just want to thank...
Some conservatives, ma'am.
Well, most conservatives embraced it. Let's be honest about it. So I just want to thank you. Yeah. Okay, I just want to thank you for coming here today and actually proving what I've been thinking about this all along. I don't understand why like Senator Lehman stated, I don't understand why we're holding these hearings. Common Core standards are here. The school districts are doing it. They have embraced it pretty much so. And I think to go the route that you're suggesting at this point is going to really throw our whole educational system into a turmoil. So.
Just a quick comment. The reason these hearings are being held is, one, they were part of the budget request that was made. It was part of the budget to have these hearings. We are trying to get information that not everybody was purview to. Some of us that are on this committee were not around before 2010 and wanted input. We heard from constituents that wanted that same input. We want to see what we can do and where we can go from here. Now, we have spent almost 5 hours, 5.5 hours, being very respectful of people's time and listening. I appreciate that. I am not going to take the sniping that's starting to occur, and we'll have some issues with that. I also ask, as we move forward, to please respect the time. We still have over 30 people that want to testify. If I have to put it down to 3 minutes, I can put it down to 3 minutes, but I will start holding that. I understand you've all been here. We've been here just as long as everybody else. I've been here since 7:30 this morning. So I understand we have things to say. If you have it, write the testimony down, get it to us. We have a pile of written testimony here. We're willing to take that. But we need to get through these people. I appreciate the committee's questions. We're doing a great job moving forward. Let's see if we can get this finished today. Thank you.
I have a couple questions for you. Thanks for coming. You seemed to, early on, I don't remember your exact words, but you kind of hinted at parental involvement. Being a virtual school, there's probably, I would guess, a larger degree of parental involvement with the students since it's taking place primarily in the home. We've heard numerous times today about how the most effective thing to produce good student achievement is not having good standards, it's having good teachers. And I agree with that, but I think there's even one more that's even more effective than that, and that is having involved parents, no matter what kind of school it is. Being that you're in a situation where parents, literally really have to be involved in the process, do you think that, and can you speak for a few moments anyway about what would be the impact of Common Core on parental involvement in education?
For the most part, as I have studied Common Core, one of the alarm bells that went off for me was the absolute narrowness of the proper answer being the one and only answer, even to the point of a philosophical response. We've heard about we're not doing multiple choice tests and that kind of thing. We're doing other more esoteric responses. If that is a philosophical response, number one, it's a little dangerous. Number two, it takes the parents out of the realm of training their children in terms of belief system, in terms of moral responses. It bothers me a bit there, but I think parents need to be involved in their children's education. And for several hundred years in this country, parents have been involved in their children's education at the beginning for all children, unless they're abandoned, for all children. And a parent figure has been involved in that. Certainly all of our children are walking and talking and dealing with the world in many ways before they ever show up at a public school. If parents are removed from that because it's now a closed shop with very static, set outcomes and responses, we've done a disservice to parents. And we've also, I think, moved very much into the statist realm of government will determine what everyone's response to everything should be. Up to this point, children have been able to go home and get a different opinion. But if there's only one right answer to every question, or one right response emotionally or by belief, or, I've seen the materials involved with Common Core. What bothers me is seeing things like pressure sensors, blood pressure sensors, respiration sensors, posture chairs, things that are measuring things that a child responds to that go far beyond the realm of educational authority, in my view. And those are dangerous areas. We see more of that coming up as time goes by. More of it comes out. But the other disturbing aspect of all this is much of this has happened in the dark. It's happened somewhere else, out of the sight of parents, out of the sight of the general public, even out of the sight of most of the educational community, and certainly the folks here in this room. I think many were not aware of Common Core, and the polls still show something in the mid 60%. When you ask about Common Core, don't even know what it is, and yet it's being imposed on the majority, or actually the totality of students.
Thanks.
All right, thank you for your time. Representative Hesselbein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't understand. What were you just saying about medical devices? Pressure points? What? I'm really sorry. I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to say.
Part of the testing procedure that's done for responses to teaching in some of these assessments are done with equipment. And the equipment includes, at least what I've seen thus far.
They're done with computers, correct? That's what you're talking about, computers?
Blood pressure cuffs to detect blood pressure responses to certain stimuli. A posture chair, which measures where you're sitting and how you're sitting and what your response is to the question. And a couple of other things I've heard about that I've not had time to investigate thoroughly are things like retinal scanners and that sort of thing.
Okay.
To measure response.
Okay. I'm from Middleton, and we had our superintendent here, and I know they've done a pilot program for some of this testing, and they haven't done any of that. So I'm not sure where you're getting your information, but my knowledge is very, very different. I just wanted you to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Knutson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very briefly, I'd like you to provide to the committee, I'd like you to provide to the committee, sir, if you could, the reference for the material about the Bill of Rights. I take it was in the appendix. Can you do that?
Yeah.
And then the reference you were just making to the blood pressure monitoring or measuring and all of that, I have heard that. Frankly, I've read the Common Core. I don't see how it is in there. I would like to have us clear the air, and so I know we have a ledge council attorney sitting here that's staffing this committee and is ready to do research. I'm going to just formally ask that as the committee, can we clear the air and get to the bottom of that? Is that happening anywhere in the state of Wisconsin? Is it any part of Common Core? I don't know, Mr. Chairman, that's my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
You take care of that for the next hearing? Great, thank you. Thank you for your time.